Listen to Career Paths by Implement every Thursday.
You might learn something.
You might not.
Available on Apple Podcasts,
On Spreaker,
Spotify,
on Google,
and iHeartRadio. It's your life. Make it happen.
Passion with this sort of hockey stick kind of income, model. But it happened quite by happenstance. I was actually, like your brother, I'm pretty good with engineering type things.
He's good at engineering things?
Yeah, honestly, architecture has a big element of engineering to it. And
Who
so,
would have thought?
I'd always been pretty good with 3D things, and I always
Okay.
was mechanically minded, and I'd always had my eye on being like a drafter. Well, I finally did that. I went and went to school to be a drafter, computer-aided design drafter.
Kind of remember that.
Yeah, and I loved learning how to do it, but I learned pretty quickly that I didn't enjoy doing it for a living. I got hired by Boeing to go be a drafter for them. I ended up not drafting at all for them. I went through their training program. I got sucked out of, instead of going out to design group, they said, hey, you kind of flew through the training here. We could use a hand. We're drowning. And this is in the days of, it was the run up to Y2K. It was the cradle of the internet. The economy is absolutely exploding. They had the 747X program. They had the 777 launching, all these things. So they're on fire. They're hiring just anybody who could fog a mirror.
So where'd you go to?
I could fog a mirror. So I went to Renton and worked for them out of the Renton location,
Doing
which
what?
is south of Seattle.
Yes.
For those following along at
Over
home.
in Seattle area.
So I like I say, I was hired as a designer,
Right.
drafter, but they kept me back and said, would you stay with us here and help train the newcomers coming in? So that's what I did for about 18 months.
I didn't know that. You were training?
That's all I did, was
Oh,
training.
wow. I did not
Yes.
know that.
Being paid like a drafter, but
Paid?
doing training work.
Wow.
Which might sound great, but the trainers made way more than we did. So, so there was like, would you like to stay here and we can have our way with you? So,
You liked it though. Oh, never mind.
no, I didn't. No, I didn't. And that was an interesting. I mean, the Boeing company was a great experience, and they're an amazing company. But they have 13 unions in the company, and
I never knew that.
that was an experience. So, but like I said, I couldn't
Good
really.
times.
I wasn't making the kind of money I wanted to make. I
Mhm.
wanted to do something more sort of sales oriented, more where I didn't have a ceiling. Is the thing. And Boeing was not that. Boeing's like, okay, you're going to spend these years and you're going to march up the ladder and
This
you're
is
going
how it works.
you're going to get graded this way and evaluated this way, and it's like, ooh, you got a +1 on your performance review or whatever, and so you get to not get fired this time around. So in any event, but I was talking to recruiters a lot because what I wanted to do was I wanted to go as a contractor because the contractors were making a lot more money. And so I'm talking to recruiters all the time. I'm like setting myself up. Okay, I'm going to go contract. I'm going to go contract.
Okay.
Well, but you had to wait. You had to have X amount of experience to go contract. And
Okay.
so I'm like, so I guess I'm going to just sit here and cool my heels and just mark time until I can get there. Well, so I was surrounded by all the contractors there, and they're talking to the recruiters all the time, because the recruiters are just like, hey, what's going on over there? Hey, what's going on over there? So
Were you ignored and you felt left out?
I did. Well, no, I didn't feel left out. I felt like I wanted to make more money. They loved me,
Okay.
and I loved them, but I wanted to make more
Okay,
money.
just want to make sure feelings weren't hurt.
So then this guy that I worked with, Steve was his name, and he moonlighted as a professional clown.
Right.
He was talking to his recruiter, and he gets off the phone and he says, "Hey, somebody's going to call you. Your phone's about to ring." And he goes, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ring, ring, ring. My phone rings. Well, they were looking for another recruiter for their. And they recruited technical recruiters, including aerospace and software,
Okay.
hardware, and things. And so they called me, and I'm like, I was all Mr. sort of Tony Robbins at the time, and so I put on my best pinstripe suit and went down and interviewed, and they hired me. And so all of a sudden I went from being a designer to being a recruiter for enterprise software. So this was it was twofold. So it was recruiting for ERP, enterprise resource planning software, the SAPs and Oracles of the world, and then also 3-tier architecture software guys for the internet boom.
Okay.
So, which I knew nothing about. But I mean, I knew technology to some degree, but I didn't really understand that space. But I was a quick study. I was a quick study, and I was successful early on, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't love the company I worked for. It was,
that happens.
you know, I mean, it was a great entry. I was trial by fire, and I mean, I was
stuff.
definitely tempered. And so that was my entree into recruiting. I was only there for about 7 months. I got recruited out by another company to go recruit telecom folks for.
You got recruited from a recruiter from recruiting?
I did, actually.
Okay.
Well, I had a couple people that I worked with leave to this company, and then they said, hey, you should call this guy. So they called me, and I went to interview for that, and then all of a sudden I was working on the 42nd floor of the Seafirst building downtown Seattle, feeling like a big deal. And,
were you a big deal?
No. I was a trained monkey is what I was. So, but I was recruiting telecom salespeople and sales engineers for Quest Communications. Quest Communications was trying to become the next MCI WorldCom AT&T at the time, which was data.
That's a big deal.
Selling data to the Fords and that, you know, those kinds of companies. So anyway, so I did that for a few months until the company imploded, and then I got picked up by a well-known software company and worked there for about 4 years, which was also a great experience. I got to recruit for everything there, so it's not just software developers, but legal and facilities and everything. It was a good job.
When you do this, and because I have no clue, obviously, but how do you? Is there a set description what you have to go after for each individual? You're going after somebody or recruiting, so the job requirements. So how's that work?
So yeah, so I mean that's basically it. Like it's the determining what does your client need. You know, and when I went to work for the software company, my clients are internal. Like we all work for the same company, so I'm trying to help my company mates basically.
Right.
They're my client, and so it's determining what their needs are and then going and finding them for them. And it's a combination of, I mean, whatever it takes to find the person. Of course, you're going to post the job online, but then you've got to be able to get out there and market and call and network and beat the bushes and find lists and become a master internet researcher. And
are you a master researcher now?
I used to be. It's very little.
I didn't. I was not aware of any of this stuff. You never shared it. I've just never known anybody that in that. I never knew you a recruiter, but just that all the stuff you have to know and do and deal with.
Yeah,
it's a lot there.
I'll put it to you this way. So, I told a gal I was in a furniture store, selling this big, giant furniture for like high-end customers.
You sold furniture too?
No, I was talking to somebody. I was in this store shopping.
Thank you.
And this gal is the salesperson there, and she's used to selling, 5 and 6 figure furniture packages to all the people that are buying high-end resort homes here in the area.
Right.
And I'm just looking, I'm just kicking tires. I wasn't really in the market. I'm like, I want to check out this furniture store. And so then the salesperson gets with me and she asked me what I do for a living. And at the time I had gotten into insurance, and I told her what I did. I recruit these types of people for the insurance industry. And she looks at me and she goes, I'm sorry. So that's how I've always kind of, for the outside person, it's like, you might as well tell them that you fine-tune light bulbs for the Las Vegas Strip or something. It's like, who cares? So it's my job. It's what I do for a living, and I find it fascinating. Most people don't. So
I actually am intrigued by it because not knowing what the details of what you deal with, different requirements for this situation, that situation, knowing you got to know certain information for that particular job or whatever. It's not a bad thing. I find it fascinating, actually.
Well, I mean, it's been a great career for me. I've been doing it for 20 years now. So, but it's odd because again, I tell people I'm a recruiter if they ask me.
Right.
But I wake up every day feeling like I'm part of the insurance industry.
Well, at this point, you're getting there to them or them to there.
Well, it's sort of like, ultimately, it's a sales function, okay? And so most salespeople think of themselves as salespeople first, right? They don't think of themselves. It's like, well, if you pay me enough, I'll sell, ice makers to Eskimos. Well, I don't think of myself that way. I recognize that the job that I do is a sales function, but it's ultimately, I think, a delivery and consultative function, and I'm a partner to the industry.
I look at it.
So,
you're
because
not
I've
a
recruited
salesperson.
in IT before, and I hated it. So I don't, and it's not because of lack of respect for IT. It's because it doesn't interest me at the level that insurance did. And again, that probably brands me as, like I just need to spin the propeller on my hat. But
I not for me. I'm intrigued. Once again, not even having a clue. There's just elements to it that, once again, some of the stuff I've done in my life, not to that extreme, but I can kind of relate where you got to know and this and that, put that together, and over here, there's
Right.
a lot of things that you have to get together to do what you do.
well, it's so I look at it this way. So what's the old saying that the people sleep better if they don't know how laws and sausages are made? Well, the people don't die of boredom if they don't have to talk about how insurance is made. So I don't talk about it a lot.
But you know it. It's part of your life.
I
and you've
do.
made it.
I do. Yeah, and again, I think it's very cool. And so also living with insurance too. So like I endured a big windstorm. I think it was 2015. We had a big windstorm, and it felled 3 trees in our yard, and one of them crashed right through our fence into our neighbor's yard. Well, one of the things I found out, even as a homeowner who's buying this policy and hasn't sat down with his readers in a fine-tooth comb to like read every last bloody word in the policy.
Everybody else does. What about you?
Well, so one of the things that I learned is that if a tree in your yard falls over into your neighbor's yard and kills somebody, crashes through their house and kills the owners while they sleep,
Your neighbors.
tough shit. Your liability ends at your fence line.
Huh.
So
But you didn't kill anybody, so you're okay.
no, but there was it was about a 70 to 80 foot tree
Yeah.
that came pretty close to the house. And literally, it's called chop the log off at your fence line and clean up your side of the fence, and that's it.
Wow.
Your liability's over.
Huh.
So, who knew?
I got nothing.
Yeah, and likewise, I had a couple of trees in my own home prior to that were looking scarily like they were going to fall on my house, and they're like, yeah, well, I'm like, shouldn't we fell these things so that? No, we'll wait for them to crash through, and then we'll pay the claim then. And it's my own insurance policy.
Yeah,
They're like, no,
yeah.
we're not going to deal with that.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
At least for my, what little I know about insurance, but
Right, and so think about it this way.
preemptive, that's not be.
So think about it. So that's just me as the individual. Think about how much hairier it gets when you're talking about airlines or shipping companies or
The details that need to be. Yeah. Wow.
or SpaceX launching rockets into outer space, and like
Years.
I mean, it gets very hairy and complicated very, very quick.
There's a lot going on there. I have never, obviously, but geez, Louise, it
Yeah.
fascinates me actually.
It is. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And also, insurance fraud is also.
that fraud.
fascinating.
No one does that.
And I would say this too, that credit card, by way of example, credit cards have to deal with fraud too, but nowhere near the scale of insurance companies. Nowhere near. Credit card fraud is based on somebody stealing somebody's card. Okay.
And going
Insurance
using it.
fraud is based on people conspiring to defraud the insurance company.
People do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you had to deal somehow in that one of those situations?
Only indirectly. So most insurance companies have a whole unit that they call SIU, Special
Right.
Special
Did
Investigative
you have
Unit.
to help the SIU out?
Yeah, they should make a TV show about it, starring
Vince Brown.
no, starring who's the guy from Mad Men?
I don't watch.
Yeah. Anyway,
That one guy.
somebody like that. Yeah, and they deal with that, and it's profound, and it's not just the little guy who's like saying, that my car got broken into and my wife's purse was stolen.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, one of the first times I bumped into it was when I first got into the industry. I was talking to a guy that was in the SIU unit, had been for a time, and I asked him what was one of his bigger wins. And he said, well, I busted up a $12 million fraud ring in Spokane. He worked for Safeco at the time, which is now part of Liberty Mutual. And I said, well, tell me about that. He said, oh, well, some doctors' offices and attorneys got together to build fraudulent claims, work comp claims, and it was literally represented $12 million in loss in the insurance company. Doctors and lawyers. So it's a thing. And if it's happening in a little town like Spokane, I'm
Yeah.
assuming, it's happening in other towns around
The bigger
country.
towns.
I'm just speculating.
Yeah,
I'm just speculating.
it could happen.
So,
Wow.
so this is what insurance companies deal with. So every time you think, ooh, the cursed insurance companies, they deal with that stuff, and they have to pay that stuff.
This is all part of their
That's a
business.
cost
and
to
of-
them. It's a cost
Right.
to investigate it. It's a cost to control those losses. And it's a balancing act. And I might also say that the states are telling the insurance companies exactly how much money they can make. They're telling them how much they can charge within a certain range. So I'm not making it up. So
Nothing surprised me.
yeah, so it's not like they don't really get to change whatever they should charge whatever they want necessarily.
But they make money in insurance companies.
Well, they're in the business to make money, but like any business that's in the business to make money, that doesn't mean that all of them are.
Well, yeah, okay.
And also, if you are a mutual insurance company, your job is not necessarily to make money. Your job is your job is actually to not make a profit. Your job is to build your portfolio of equity and return value to your members. That's your job.
We're gonna have to have lunch. I'm kind of fascinated. And I had no clue. No. Do you have any clue on that one?
No.
So for instance, Progressive Insurance.
I've heard of them. They're a company.
So they're
out there,
publicly
right?
traded. Well,
Okay,
their number one obligation is to their shareholders. And their shareholders are not guys like you that go like, I'm gonna buy 5 shares of Progressive. It's the Warren Buffetts of the world that are buying them for their or it's the Vanguards of the world that are buying them for their large cap mutual funds, right? Those are the investors. Those are the people that they're beholden to. Mutual company is beholden. The difference between a mutual company and a stock company is basically the difference between a bank and a credit union.
Okay.
Right?
That much I have a clue about.
So
Not
yeah,
much,
so a
but-
credit union is not really supposed to be turning a profit.
Right.
Now they have to have so much capital on hand to
Yeah.
do the things they need to do.
Right. They have to run business.
They still got to pay their people and all that, and some of those people are paid very, very well. Same with a mutual company, but you're not returning, money to the owners of a privately held company or to
Right.
the stockholders of a public company.
Right.
So the what that means to you as the insurance consumer is a lot of times people that base their insurance purchase on price alone, they may be getting the lowest price, but they may have a less than fantastic experience when it comes to actually getting their claim paid, which is ultimately what they're buying is claims handling. Most people don't know that. They think they're buying an insurance policy because they have to. They're actually buying claims handling. That's the product.
If they have to.
At the end of the day, if there was no chance you were ever going to have to file a claim, you're not buying that product. But there's a chance you might have to file a claim. and
Unless
so
the
that's why
state tells
buy
you
the
you have to
product.
buy the insurance. I'm just saying.
There is that. Yes.
I'm just saying. There's,
There is that.
I'm just going with the information. Little insurance information that I'm aware of.
Right.
I don't know all your information. You're all like that.
So most insurance is not really compulsory. Auto insurance is because of the social implications, but most insurance is not compulsory, and so.
There you go. Hey, I was thinking auto, obviously.
Of course, because it's a colossal product, and yes, it sucks that you have to buy it, but at the same time, it's like
You have to buy it? Okay, go ahead.
it sucks. You can say that it sucks, but at the same time, if the person careening into you that wipes out your daughter in the back seat is insured because the state told them they had to be. I mean, again, I'm not a big guy for big government. I'm not a big guy for being told what to do by government, but at the same time, there's a very verifiable social good there. So
I don't have a daughter, but okay, go ahead.
your daughter, your son, your
I
dog,
don't-
your car,
I
your
try-
grandmother, your
Yeah, my grandmother's dead. Okay, I'm just.
yes. so-
Once again, my reality is different than most. I get that.
right.
You know that.
I do.
And I'm special that way. My mom and dad.
My reality is different than most.
But I'm fascinated by it. But you're impacting a lot of people's lives. And
I
even
am.
if they're not aware of it, you are. And what you do. And once again, they had no clue. But
Yeah.
pieces and parts to do with that. The insurance.
Yes, it is. The recruiting side of things is alternately exhilarating and terrifying.
Why is it terrifying first, and then you go to exhilarating?
Well, it's terrifying because you don't get. I'm typically working on what's called a contingent basis, which is like like an attorney that's suing for something, right? They won't get paid until until they win the case, right?
Right.
I'm kind of the same way. I typically don't get paid until the person gets offered a job, they say yes, They start
so
and they
done.
stay for a period of time.
All right, what's the period of time typically? didn't know.
I'm not going to say.
Okay.
But it's a period of time that I'm exposed. And there's two components. There's a guarantee period as well as they're not paying right away. They're paying. There's net payment terms there.
Okay.
So I've got to wait to get paid, and then
Okay.
there's a time after that I'm still sort of exposed if the person decides to
Interesting.
leave or gets fired
Okay,
for
yeah.
cause. So I'm obligated to deliver the best darn person I can, and the best person isn't necessarily the top performing. It's the best sort of fit. So
Right.
because sometimes that A player can be a pain in your ass, right? So you need the right fit for the job. So there's considerations that way. And it's hair raising, and then you invest a lot of time in a search, and the client says, yeah, we're not doing that anymore, or the manager that you had been feeding you at a very high level, all of a sudden they get fired, or they move, or they retire, or they die,
Yeah.
so there's that, and then but the exhilarating part is landing that person that really is a change agent at your client, makes a difference. And the first actuary I ever placed when I got into this business back in 2004. He is still at that same company. 16 years
Wow.
later, he has been a multi-million-dollar generator for them, and those are nice stories to tell.
Wow.
So.
I once again fascinated. I'm not aware that. I figured they got the job. You're done and you get your money or however that. But no, there's other things to it.
Well, I mean, recruiting, as I mentioned, it is a sales function, and like any sales function, sometimes it can turn into a typical sort of sales experience. All the horrible things you like to think about salespeople. So, and you can't be in the business and not make an enemy along the way, or at least somebody who doesn't favor you. And so you're always trying to be on, you're trying to put out your best product always and earn people's trust. And it's a never-ending battle because it's easily burned. Sometimes through how this goes, just the human interaction through nothing you did. Because
Right,
the bottom
right.
line is you deliver someone to your client, and they don't work out. Well, they're looking at you, Mr. Recruiter.
Yeah.
One of my favorite stories like this is a guy that was delivered as an executive to an internet startup that had been acquired by Disney. I think it was called Go.com or something.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, well, so on the cusp of them closing this deal, and this is a multi-million-dollar deal involving the Disney Corporation, which they have a sort of an image.
I've heard of them.
Yeah.
They're mouse or something.
And I think they care about their public image. Well, this guy, it turns out he had an affinity for underage girls, and so on the eve of this thing getting wrapped up, he gets arrested on the Santa Monica Pier.
Oh wow.
For trying
That worked out well.
talking to some gal that was not really of age to consent to anything.
Wow. Good for
Dumb luck, though. The Little Miss Thing was a undercover FBI agent. So,
Oopsie.
so now that was that candidate came through a very well-known recruiting firm, and so they're like, "Hey, Mr. Recruiter, that we paid you this multi-giant retainer to, what are you gonna do for us?" So those are the horror stories you don't want to have to tell, and they look at the recruiter. So.
Like with anything, you can't be perfect. You're always gonna have. There's always gonna be somebody, some way, somehow that customers can't always be 100%. Even if you go over
Correct.
above, you know that Ryan pisses people off all the time.
Well, the number one thing with recruitment that makes it exhilarating and harrowing is the fact that imagine if the product that you're selling could stand up, tell you to go pound sand and leave the room.
Right.
That's exactly what is happening. Because the product ultimately that we're selling our services,
Right,
but at
but
the end of the
person-
day, what we get paid on is to deliver talent to the company.
Right.
And that talent can say, yeah,
That
Not
can
today's.
happen too.
not today.
Yeah.
So
There's
that
some variables you can't. I mean, yeah, you do your best, but
I'm a career bartender at this point. Tell me all your secrets and tell me no lies.
how intense? What's the most hidden secret? What's the word? A secret that you are still blown away? Did you find out something about one of your possible placements?
Oh yeah. So I had one person that interviewed for the job. His resume was on the desk of a guy that was going to be interviewing him later in the day, and another guy, and he's on site. So they've flown him out. He's made it to the on-site interview meeting with multiple people, and the guy that he's meeting with, another guy comes into his office and he's looking over the guy's shoulder and he's like, "Oh, I know this guy. Oh yeah? Well, I'm interviewing him later today. Oh yeah. Well, how do you know him? Bill? Oh, I fired him for surfing internet porn at work in a past life."
Huh.
So HR calls me after the second round meeting, tells me this, says they're going to finish the interview as a courtesy. He had like 3 more people to meet with, but he was dead on arrival.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? They look at me. Why are you delivering these people to us? I didn't know the guy was currently working for Safeco. I'm assuming something like that's going to come out in a background check or something.
Somehow,
But that's what happened. So then, so that would be one. The other one, this was unfortunate. Delivered a candidate to a company that she was a fairly heavyweight person. She was sort of the director of this program.
You weren't talking about actual weight.
With a what's correct? Yes, yes. She was from what I understand, a normal body weight.
Okay.
BMI target BMI range. But she, unbeknownst to the company, she had massive debt issues, and so she starts with the company in this a nearly executive level position with the company, and a few weeks or months later, I don't remember how long this is, a few years back. I don't have many of these stories to tell, thankfully.
Yeah, you.
But a few weeks or months later, the CEO walks into Nordstrom and sees her working the MAC cosmetics counter.
Oh.
And some companies frown on moonlighting, and it turned out that she was just trying to make a buck or two because she was just drowning, and she had a bit of a spending problem. She was drowning in credit card debt.
An executive, and she was working at Nordstrom's.
Yeah, she was making very, very good money with my client.
You would think.
But it does. But it's not about how much you make; it's how much you keep.
Once again, you can spend. It's lovely. Oh, I know.
Yeah, and
I know people with lots of money and lots of pain in the ass, and
correct.
you know.
I've heard of I've heard of people being insurance poor before. I've never heard anybody being insurance bankrupt. Only people go. Only
What's insurance for? I don't.
Well, basically, you got to buy your car insurance, auto insurance, and health insurance, life insurance,
And
all
that
these
trades
things.
you, makes you
Right,
poor.
but but you're not going in debt for those. You're buying them, right? Credit cards, people go bankrupt from credit card debts.
I hear that, but I was going to go political some years ago where we had to get certain insurance, health, or.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that.
Okay, I'm just saying. Okay.
Yeah, because that was just your government in action, caring about each and every one of them.
Yes, to the level that they do.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they do because they have the same health care. Wait, they don't.
Well, I'm glad they're here to take care of me because I couldn't take care of myself.
Well, none of us can.
Right now, we're just suckling off the government teat.
Yeah, that's why they're giving us so much. Oh, we give our taxes and more, and yeah, never mind. We're going to get political. Let's skip. So your typical task, your typical day. What do you do? Task hours. What else is involved? Typical day.
So I work all 4 time zones. So
oh, wow.
I try to be available at least electronically during off hours, but it's sort of a normal 8 to 5 kind of a work day. And the tasks are lots of phone calls, email, some internet research. I do a bit of social media work. LinkedIn is probably the number 1 portal for me. There's other avenues, but LinkedIn is kind of number 1. I drive a desk.
Do you?
See, I don't want to talk about recruiting. I want to talk about insurance, but anyway, I'll talk about recruiting.
Well, you are a recruiter, so
I know.
I got to get a little bit of information out of you. I've learned about recruiting a little bit, but it's what you do. You're giving me more today than I've gotten in years. Thank you. You hang out with Jim, you and my brother.
He doesn't know what I do either.
Huh. I'm not really sure what he does.
He draws pictures.
Drawers. SNL skit.
Yes.
Just saying.
On a pewter.
Yeah. He used to do that other thing years ago, and there was that long blonde hair guy. There's pictures out there. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
What about your career now that you dislike? What's the main thing that stands out in your head? Is it when you deal with company or deal with somebody and they fail and you got to deal with that, or is there something else that comes to mind?
Honestly, I think the only thing I don't love about it is that I enjoy being in the presence of people more. you know, I used to love being on the phone all the time,
Mhm.
and now it's like I kind of miss that in-person contact.
Okay.
And you don't, you know, there's clients that have become very good clients and candidates alike that have become very good friends to me that I'll never meet in person, and that's kind of a bummer, because I work I don't do anything locally; it's all national.
Oh wow.
So, but I mean, there's an upside too. That means I never have to see people I don't really want to see in person. So,
Well, there you go.
uh,
Okay.
so that's
What's the highlight of what you do? What stands out? That makes your day.
the number one thing I love to do is when I get that match where I'm able to move somebody's career and life forward, because they're intertwined, right? Your job is such a huge part of your life. For most people, it's the biggest part of their life, and to be able to move the biggest part of their life forward, as well as improve their lifestyle in some way. So either to elevate their maybe it's an improvement in pay, maybe it's an improvement in their location, shortening their commute, or getting them to a city they want to go to, getting them closer to family. I've been able to reunite a couple of married couples over time that were separated, and I've been able to reunite them by getting them to a new location. That's cool. If I'm able to do that at the same time, I'm able to really solve my client's problem at a high level, to where they get a high performer that's a good member of the team for a good long time. That's the best. And then also, I would say too, just because I have done so much in my career, big and small, worked for the smallest companies and imaginable, as well as, Boeing was well north of 200,000 employees when I was there.
I've heard of them.
And I've worked for high margin businesses, low margin businesses, service businesses, tech businesses, and starting with cleaning out 11-foot aluminum, fishing boats when I was 14 years old, right? So I've seen such a gamut of work that I have, I think, a better than average ability to sort of analyze what a company is really all about, what they do, how they really are, and to find somebody who's going to fit there. And I don't just mean do the job, right?
Right.
They have the education, they have the skills, but are they going to fit? Are they going to like it? Will they be liked? Are they set up for success? I think I have a better than average ability to do that, and that's the most edifying part of the job.
So it comes to my a question to do with a particular company. How much do you have to delve in if they're hiring you, particular? Do they is there multiple recruiters that they're sourcing out? And then if they do, but you in particular, how much do you delve into that particular company so you know what they need? How's that?
Well, the deeper the better, and the more exclusive I can be with them, the better.
Right, I would imagine.
I have been in plenty of horse races, and I still oftentimes am. But you're always trying to get to a place to where you're the first and only call.
Build rapport and trust, and
and ultimately you'd like to get money up front because it sort of implies a commitment from them. But for whatever reason, most of my clients don't put money up front on the table, which is fine. I mean, I'm fine with that. And so the deeper the better, and I'll keep diving in, even if I don't have a deeper relationship as I like with them. I keep diving, unless they treat me bad. I don't
call your name.
That's one of the best parts about recruiting. The way I do it is that being out external to the company. Yeah. If they really start jerking my chain, I can say, well, it sounds like I'm just not the right solution for you right now.
Yeah, I can't help you out at this time.
And sometimes they're not jerking my chain, literally trying to. I didn't mean to make that hand movement, by the way. They're not literally trying to jerk my chain. They're just like, there's change going on at the company. There's been turnover, or turmoil, or they're for sale or whatever, and all of a sudden the relationship just isn't working. I can choose to sort of tap out permanently, or just for a while.
Step back,
And so.
Yeah, I understand that. Brian, do you understand that?
I do.
I do. I'm fascinated. I actually am fascinated. Just there's so much detail on it. Like I said, delve in the company, who you getting to know, are they're still there, so you can fit somebody not just with the actual job requirements, but how the culture within the business.
Yeah, which is profound.
Yeah, because business. I've had a couple jobs over the years, and I'm doing the same thing, and there's differences. So, and I'm just curious. I'll talk to you when either. How do you delve into to clarify how much time can you spend on that company to find out the culture, to know?
Oh, as much as they'll give me. And the more people I can talk to, the better.
Okay.
But you build a list of questions that more sense than others, right?
Oh, yeah,
You know, and I've got that pretty dialed, I think.
you've done a while.
And also, I think I'm pretty good at adapting. You know, to dig into, you know, when you sort of smell a rat or a problem,
You just sense,
to be able to sort of get underneath it, and you know, because there's no perfect company and there's no perfect
Yeah.
candidate. So you're not
What?
looking for perfection. You're looking for.
I thought I was, Ryan, you said I was perfect.
Yeah, you're looking for as close to ideal as possible.
Right.
You're never going to get perfection, but is it beneficial to both parties,
Correct.
and how beneficial?
Positive.
So, yeah. So you know, you build good questions over time, and of course, I've had lots and lots of training over time that's helped me sharpen the saw, but then you kind of build your own style.
Training, so let's clear, that's part of what you do. I haven't even really touched on schooling. What training do you get for this? I obviously have no insurance information. I don't know.
Well, it runs the gamut from, you know, you're selling, you know, low-grade frozen meat out of the back of a truck, and you walk into some small startup mom and pop shop that's trying to make a living in some, you know, recruiting for.
Is there a specific training that you do as a recruiter to do with this, what you do?
Well, I was going to say, so no, but the better companies have a training program that they have built themselves.
Okay.
So
In-house.
yeah. So and some of those training programs are good. Some of them are fantastic. It depends on the company. I'm lucky enough to be aligned with a company. I'm a franchise owner, but I was established beforehand, so they didn't teach me the business. I already knew it, but I'm with a franchisee that sort of extends my reach and gives me ongoing training and some other benefits and their training is lovely. Especially if I have to hire someone, you know, they'll really run with it with a new hire.
They'll train them too? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
get them up to speed. So.
Okay. Wow, once again, no idea. But people are just going to go, recruiter, insurance, I'm bored.
Yeah,
It's insurance.
well, I mean, yeah, that's another thing that internal to my business. So I've got to find somebody who thinks that whatever my market is, that's interesting to them.
Right.
Right. And so, you know, I would say this: I really would prefer to have somebody that has at least. I would really prefer to see a bachelor's degree of some sort. You know, of business, marketing, communications, HR. That's less applicable, ironically, because it's more of a sales function. Human resources is more of a
Human resources.
It's more of an internal affairs kind of a function. So you know, and it's comp and benefits and culture building and organizational development and all that stuff, and that's not what we do.
Right.
So I prefer to see a bachelor's degree at a minimum, and then some spark and giddy up and energy, you know, and the ability to string a sentence together, both on paper and in writing.
We're screwed, Ryan. We can't do that.
Well, most
Maybe
of
we
America's
work
screwed
together.
because our mother tongue is dying a very ignominious death. But,
What would you say biggest? Well, I don't think from my reality what you do. I was going to say, what's the biggest misconception the general public has? What you do for a career?
oh, biggest is that
Insurance.
you know that we would, that we just want to make a deal. You know, that we just want to get paid, and we'll just jam somebody in to the company
Slim it
just so
down.
we can get paid, and that's the best recruiters. That's not their MO at all. They would never allow that.
They have a passion for it.
Now, unfortunately, because it is a sales function, if you're depending on the company you're working for, it's like, where's your numbers? Where's your numbers?
But you don't
and it's
work
all
that
this
way.
pressure, and I don't work that way. You know. I have the luxury of not having to work that way, but I've been in those environments.
Okay, so you've learned from the past, and
Oh yeah, where you run around at noon, and scurry around and see what everybody's phone time is, and then you do it at the end of the day. And oh yeah, no. I've been in those environments, but that's not. I don't want to work that way, and I don't.
so your business set, you're owner of the franchise, and correct?
So my company and brand was already erected. So my corporation is my corporation, and then I'm operating under the umbrella of the franchisee.
Okay, so that being said, I have no clue, and I'm not even sure what besides benefits or health care and all that for you and the other people that you're working with. Do you have a staff that you're working with, or just
So
you?
right now it's just me. I was
Okay.
growing a company and then I had a little bit of a health setback, but
Okay.
I'll be growing it again at some point.
Okay.
I buy my own insurances though.
Okay. Okay, so independent contract kind of situation.
We're a corporation, So, I mean, yes, I'm alone right now, but we're a company and we will be growing.
Right.
So,
So we're almost done. So when you were a kid, what'd you dream? What'd you want to be when you grew up? Did you want to be a cowboy?
I didn't, as a young boy, I had no clue at all. I just was sort of a sponge marveling at the world, and then I did, as you know, experience the drums as a fifth grader. Ironically, not through band. I didn't do the band. I was playing the clarinet. And then, but my brother bought a drum set at the same time, so I'm learning the clarinet and the drums at the same time. And it didn't. I mean, it took a while to get to the point to where I thought that's what I really wanted to do for a living. But by 17 or 18, I was pretty sold out that that's what I wanted to do. You know, with no real solid plan or idea of how to get there.
I don't think there's a playbook out there that.
No.
And
a mother and father that thought that I was out of my mind.
Well, you were, but my parents just go. Is that what you want to do? Well, okay, go.
Right, which is good.
I'm a bit complaining, but it's not like they understood. I had a couple people go, well, yeah, they helped you along the way. No, they just didn't tell me no.
Right, or denigrate it.
They didn't know. I mean, they offered me and my brothers something that they did not have, a chance to follow something they wanted to do.
Right.
So, anything else you want? I'm fascinated. I really am. I want to talk to you more. I know other people are probably a little bit bored. Ryan, are you bored a little bit?
No.
He's stepping out.
He's just taking
Not at all, actually.
I'm actually quite fascinated. There's a lot to it, and it's just, once again, I have no clue. I'm a recruiter, but it does not kill the guy. It's Action Jackson. Oh, there he is.
Is it literally Action Jackson?
Yes, by Migo.
That's his whole action. He falls down.
No. You know,
What a toy.
What? They made superheroes back in the 70s, Migo. They're 8-inch. And,
I remember.
And I got into them, and they started reproducing, and the Planet of the Apes.
They started reproducing.
Or they came back as a company. They
the
went
dark?
out of business. Well, I don't know. They went out of business. They went bankrupt years ago. They did Star Trek back in the day. Back in the 70s, at Planet of the Apes, and now they're back at it.
Got it.
So, and I'm a geek that way. So, I'm a nerd. Well, there you go. Once again, I'm fascinated. We'll talk more. I got nothing. Please like, please subscribe. We're on what? I'm just, my brain's whacking on them because I don't know what it entails, and I'm just fascinated. There's a lot to it. That's how my brain works.
The short answer is I drive a desk.
Yeah, but the intricate details of what you know and how you do it.
Yeah.
Fascinating, because there's things that I don't find that exciting, but other people think it's, how do you do that?
Right.
You just do it. But you know how crazy I am.
I do.
See,
I do. It's a wonder I'm even here.
Well, it took you a while to come back on.
It did.
I have invited you several times. One time you didn't even respond. You were scheduled, and the day came and went. I'm going.
Yeah, and all due respect,
It happens.
that was not my intention. So
It happens.
So thank you for not.
You know,
giving up on me.
I harass the guests that there's several times something comes up, and it happens. We're just having fun.
Right.
There you go. Career Paths on InfoNet. Please like, please subscribe. I threw my card. I can't remember. Share. We need all the help we can get. Thanks, Vince. Appreciate it.
Victor.
It's your life. Make it happen. Till next time. Seriously, I'm